morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 13th of June, 2025, and as always, I'm holding the legacy media's feet to the fire because they propagandize, because they gaslight, they manipulate, they lie, and guess what? You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Friday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and as always, we humbly and respectfully request that you visit the website, TheWTFReports.com. Share it with your friends, get the word out, and while you're at it, visit our sponsors page and do business with us. Help us to keep the lights on. This program is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. Yeah, I'm hawking the Wave Watch a lot these days because it actually works, folks. And if you wanted to get some information about that, go to our website, click on the sponsors page, and click on the Wave Watch. Now, if you decide that you want to get one, you'll get $100 off if you use the promo code REDPILL100, and you're going to get an extra $50 off towards an extended warranty just for Father's Day. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, now's the time to do it. Get a Wave Watch. Yeah, it's based on frequencies. Yeah, Rife technology, and of course, Tesla told us frequency is everything. So anyway, that said, okay, TGIF, we're all wrapped up in looking at what's happening over the weekend. Of course, tomorrow is supposed to be the kickoff. Of course, it's already kicked off, but the No Kings demonstrations, protests, riots that are going on all over the country. Everybody's focused on that. Well, today is Friday the 13th. I haven't heard anybody talking about that, but isn't that a coincidence? So, tomorrow happens to be Flag Day. It is also the 250th anniversary or birthday of the United States Army, and it also coincidentally happens to be Donald Trump's birthday. Of course, all the lefties are focusing in on that, and any parade that he's going to have, it's all an exercise in egotism, according to them. But my gosh. The Army is celebrating 250 years. I would think that's worth a celebration and a parade. Why not? Why the heck not? So, anyway, that said, okay, there's a bunch of stuff to get to today. I have a bunch of audio receipts. But before I do that, I just want to use some common sense here. I think we all know that we are dealing with an immense, unfathomable amount of corruption going on in this world. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, if you're liberal or conservative, whatever. I mean, corruption is everywhere. How did we get here? How is it things got so screwed up? Well, I would contend that if you're going to climb the ladder of success, and it doesn't make any difference if you're in the public sector or the private sector, as you climb this ladder, eventually you're going to reach one of those rungs on the ladder that's going to require that you compromise your principles, your scruples, your morals. And if you don't, then you're just not going to ascend any farther. And unfortunately, there are so many people, and again, this is not a partisan issue. Corruption is on both sides of the aisle. And I know there's a lot of conservatives out there listening to this broadcast and say, Dave, you're going after the conservatives too? Well, yeah. I mean, look at what George Bush did. Both George Sr. and George Jr. I'm sorry, I was no love of what they were doing. I was on the air when the 9/11 attacks happened. And those regular listeners out there, you know my history, you know where I'm coming from. I did not one, but two documentaries on the subject. And so, no, I have no love of either party. They're Republicrats and Demopublicans. We've heard it all over and over, two wings of the same bird. But the point is that in order to have quote unquote success in this world, you've got to compromise your principles, or you just can't go any farther. And that's just the way it is. And this is reflected, in this situation right now that we've got. We're on the edge of World War III right now. And I gotta tell you, Vladimir Putin has been very constrained. After the Nord Stream pipeline thing, okay, the media said, oh, well, Russia blew it up. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. We know doggone well how it got blown up, and he didn't respond. And this whole thing that's been going on with Israel and Palestine and the absolute carnage, the constant bombing and, missiles and stuff like that. And, Israel has a right to defend itself. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, Israel just lobbed some missiles into Iran. Iran didn't attack anybody. They did a couple of things. But, the point is that, Israel is pushing for World War III. And everybody says, oh, well, Bibi Netanyahu is doing what he has to do as far as Palestine is concerned. It's Putin that's the bad guy. He's the one who's guilty of international war crimes, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Putin, my gosh, he could have leveled Kiev. He could have leveled that place. But we've got Hollywood stars and rock stars and politicians are going over there and they're doing whatever they're doing over there in Ukraine. And I think we all know what they're doing. But the point is that Putin hasn't leveled Kiev. Now, I'm not siding with Putin. I don't want to say that, Putin good and all that kind of, he's got some issues too, as do all world leaders. But the bottom line here is that they're poking, they're constantly poking the big bear. And Ken O'Keefe had this to say as far as, what Israel is doing. They couldn't exist without the United States. Listen up.
The whole system is based on a financial fraud, which effectively takes the power that we have and it gives it to a tiny group of individuals who are running the world through the control of finance. With the infinite supply of money that we have allowed them to take, they have literally an infinite supply of money, and with that money, and from their psychopathic point of view, they have bought everything and everyone who can be bought.
Yep.
So those of us who cannot be bought because we operate on a level that goes way beyond the material, we are not rewarded for such behavior. We are punished for such behavior. And the most slovenly, disgustingly criminal, pedophilia, corrupt moral individuals, those are the ones that are rewarded in this system, which is upside down. We reward the pedophiles, we reward the corrupt, we reward the liars, we reward the people with no morals at all, and usually we compromise them under this system in terms of maybe a videotape.
A videotape. All right, shall we go down that road? I think we all know the issue about that, the honeypot videos. But he's reflecting exactly what I just said. You cannot ascend the ladder of success unless you're willing to compromise your principles and your morals. It's as simple as that. And I'm sad to say, but too many of our officials, and I'm not just talking about government officials, I'm talking in the private sector as well, the CEOs of huge corporations, the Hollywood stars, rock and roll stars. If you want to have a hit song, you gotta play games with the likes of P. Diddy and all, and he's just one of many, by the way. And yeah, Epstein was just one of many. Epstein Island is one of many. This is a cancer of humanity, and this is exactly what's been going on. Anyway, I wanted to throw that out there because this is what makes the world go round. Those three magic words, we hear them all the time: bribery, coercion, blackmail. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, not to hawk some merch here, but we have a new T-shirt at our website. It has those three magic words: bribery, coercion, and blackmail. If you'd like to get one of those T-shirts, a $25 donation will get it right to you. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and get yourself some Red Pill 101 merch. Anyway, there were some congressional hearings going on yesterday. And there were fireworks. Oh, my gosh. Nancy Mace was going after Tim Walz. And I tell you, you want to hear some fireworks here. This is congressional testimony from yesterday. Give this a listen.
Are you calling for ICE agents to be brought to a tribunal under the threat of death by comparing them to the Gestapo?
Everyone is afforded due process.
What don't you understand about yes or no? What can't you comprehend about yes or no questions? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Yes or no?
That I wanted to abolish ICE.
Didn't you march in a rally calling for ICE's abolition? Are you calling for ICE agents to be brought to a tribunal under the threat of death by comparing them to the Gestapo?
Everyone is afforded due process.
What don't you understand about yes or no? What can't you comprehend about yes or no questions? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Yes or no?
That I wanted to abolish ICE.
Didn't you march in a rally calling for ICE's abolishment?
Not that I can recall, Congressman.
Well, according to widespread media reports, you did.
And the media is always correct.
How do you rate Kamala Harris's job as border czar? I want a number between 1 and 10. How was she as border czar?
I wouldn't have a way to measure that. I was not in the administration.
Weren't you her running mate for vice president?
As in the campaign.
And you can't rate her role as border czar on a scale of 1 to 10. Was she great at 10 or was she a 1? Terrible.
I think her proposal that she put forward to make sure we had the bipartisan immigration.
It wasn't bipartisan. Did you ever personally speak with Kamala about Joe Biden's cognitive collapse?
Not that I can recall, Congressman.
Not as her running mate for vice president. You never once talked to her about the president and why she was nominated instead of him.
No, not that I can recall.
What kind of operation were you guys running over there?
I was more concerned with Donald Trump's cognitive.
Thank God he's president and J.D. Vance is vice president and not you. Have you ever served in a combat zone, Governor?
I have not, Congresswoman.
Okay. Are you still friends with school shooters?
I have never been a friend with a school shooter.
Didn't you say you were friends with school shooters on the debate stage?
Oh, Congresswoman.
Yeah. Is bullying, my mom was a teacher. I'm a high school dropout. We can talk about that later. Is bullying okay?
Is bullying okay as a teacher?
Is bullying okay? Yes or no? Is it okay to bully somebody?
I think
yes
there's
or no?
a time to push back at a bully. So yes, I do think there's a time.
So you think it's okay to bully others?
I think it's okay to bully the bully at times.
Well, you're showing that the Democrat Party is the party of violence. Were you at Tiananmen Square?
Have I been to Tiananmen Square? I have.
Were you at Tiananmen Square?
I have been at Tiananmen Square.
When were you there?
Oh, as I recall, January of 1990.
Okay. What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Well,
What do you want me to say?
I got to pause it there for a second. I don't know if you could hear it, but some of the responses were invoking laughter. People in the back were laughing at how he was responding. Let's continue.
Hey,
I want you to say that a woman like me is an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Oh, my gosh. She was spitting fire on Tim Walz. And there was also some testimony. I'll see if I can pull that up. James Comer was also asking questions of Tim Walz in regard to his policy of putting tampons in the boys' rooms at schools. I'll see if I can pull that up. But there was some more fireworks going on. Representative Stefanik was going after Kathy Hochul, governor of New York. And man, this was pretty fiery as well. Listen to this exchange.
Ms. Stefanik from New York.
Thank you. Governor Hochul, on your first day in office, you signed Executive Order 1. Is that correct?
I believe it is.
And you extended this executive order not once, not twice, but 3 times, most recently January 16th of this year. Is that correct?
If that's what your facts show, I signed countless executive orders.
I would assume you'd know it's Executive Order 1. And this is a continuation of your predecessor's sanctuary state policies, correct? Is included in that.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state properly.
I'll define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement. It goes on to say, law enforcement officers may not use resources, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting and apprehending any individual suspected or wanted for violating a civil immigration office. Law enforcement officers have no authority in the state of New York to take any policy action solely because the person is an undocumented alien. That's a quote in your executive orders that you extended. Now, do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to get back to the first part.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to make sure you understand that this simply says that we will cooperate with ICE.
No, it does not say that. I read what it says, and let me talk to you about the results. Do you know who Sakir Akan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. Do you know?
Refresh my recollection.
He was an illegal migrant in New York. And do you know what crime he committed in addition to being here illegally?
No, I do not.
You do not. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, told her to get into the back seat of his car, he took her clothes off, and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are high-profile cases.
Yes.
New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zapita Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Hochul's, New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there because if you were watching this, Kathy Hochul had this smug look on her face, and at one point she was smirking. I mean, this is just flat out evil. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. I don't see how this is indefensible. Absolutely indefensible. So you folks out there on the liberal side, you can make all the excuses that you want. I mean, you're just flat out in denial if you're not accepting what you're hearing here. Let's continue.
Now, do you know who Raymond Rojas Basilio is?
I just want to say this. These crimes are horrific.
Because of your sanctuary state policies.
In all of these cases, we would work with ICE to remove them.
You did not in this case. They are walking on the streets because of your policies and your executive order that you signed 3 times. Now, Raymond Rojas Basilio, do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. I will explain you the policies of New York. We cooperate with, I know you're just trying to.
You do not. Specifically, ICE was told not to detain this individual, and he burned a woman alive on the New York subways in Kathy Hochul's, New York. So I will keep on going. What about Raymond Rojas Basilio? Do you know who that is?
I'm going to tell you our overall policy, which will address all this.
I'll tell you who that is. He is an illegal who molested an 11-year-old in our state because, again, of your sanctuary state policies. This illegal was shielded from federal immigration enforcement and able to commit this heinous crime. And what about Wilson Castillo-Diaz? Do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. We do cooperate fully with ICE in criminal prosecution. Our sanctuary
You're not advocating for these victims.
Only deal
this is a 5-year-old who was raped on Long Island in Nassau County. You are not advocating on behalf of these victims. You are shielding illegals. Even in your opening statement, you prioritize putting illegals first.
That is not
Rapes
true.
of young girls, beatings of NYPD cops by illegals who are here under Kathy Hochul's failed policies, burning New Yorkers alive. This is Kathy Hochul's New York. It's one of the many reasons why you're hemorrhaging support from hardworking New York
families. These are
families.
horrific crimes, and they're heartbreaking.
They're horrific crimes that are committed on your watch. You signed this executive order on your first day in office. You signed it again and again this January. We deserve a governor who stands up for law-abiding New Yorkers, doesn't put illegals first, but actually puts New Yorkers first. I appreciate
Rather than going after the viral moment, I suggest you look at the facts.
I'm standing up for New Yorkers.
No.
Rather than addressing the illegals in New York, you are prioritizing your far-left sanctuary state policies, which you put in place with executive orders.
I cannot believe the level of denial that Hochul was involved in here. She keeps on saying, no, that's not right. It is right. It's in black and white. She signed these executive orders. She did, shield the illegals from ICE. She did. And any illegal that was detained is let loose. I mean, how many times were some of these people picked up and then they were put back out on the streets again? Well, I'll tell you, at least Stefanik wasn't the only one who was going after Kathy Hochul. Wait till you hear what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say. And these clips are a bit long, but they're worth hearing. And if you were watching it again, Kathy Hochul had this smug smirk on her face, and she kept on denying the facts. I mean, how can anybody support this? Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Did you support the Biden administration's policies for the past 4 years?
I raised my concerns in many meetings
That's a yes
with
or no
administrations
question.
about how the border was being enforced, and so I raised concerns.
So you just stated, I'll reclaim my time, you said you're a proud Democrat. You supported Joe Biden for president. Clearly you supported the Biden administration's policies. Did you swear, Governor Hochul, did you swear an oath to faithfully uphold New York's Constitution and laws?
I certainly did.
In 2017, New York became a sanctuary state when Governor Cuomo signed Executive Order 170. This states, it directs that no state officers or employees, including law enforcement officers, shall disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement unless required by the law. Do you support this law as governor of New York?
Yes, this pertains to civil enforcement.
So you do enforce sanctuary policies of New York?
I supporting helping law enforcement and ICE when it comes to.
Thank you. I reclaim my time. You support sanctuary policies that have led to the horrific murder of people, Americans. This Fox News got it wrong. It should say monster. Arrested in broad daylight rape of a 13-year-old in a New York park. This girl was at knife point in the park near New York Mets Stadium. That's your state, Governor Hochul. New York Post also got it wrong and called him a migrant. That's a monster. Busted in brutal beating of New York PD cops in Times Square are members of bloodthirsty Trinidad Aragua gangs. That's your state where you support your sanctuary state laws. Also, Governor Hochul, do you recognize this image?
Yes.
Where a homeless woman was burned alive by an illegal alien monster, where you uphold the laws to protect these monsters in your state, and then you force the New York citizens that pay taxes to pay for these people. This is the result of your sick and disgusting treasonous laws that you uphold as governor.
New York is not a
I
sanctuary
didn't
state for
recognize you,
criminals.
Ms. Hochul. This is my time. Do you know the name Laken Riley? Do you know the name Laken Riley?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do. Jose Ibarra murdered 22-year-old Laken Riley. He's an illegal alien monster from Venezuela, convicted of 10 charges. He was first arrested by the Biden administration that you stated that you support. Joe Biden for president, right? Proud Democrat, Governor Hochul. First arrested at the border and released by the Democrats that you support. Then, guess what? He made it to New York because the Biden administration flew illegals all over the country, and your state was one that accepted them. He lived at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Queens, an upscale hotel that was turned into an illegal alien shelter at the taxpayers' expense. $2 million a month went to this hotel. The second time he was arrested was in the state of New York for endangering a child. But he was released quickly before ICE could even issue a detainer, because you support those laws, Governor Hochul. Then he flew, get this is shocking. He flew from the state of New York to my home state in Georgia, and you all paid for it. Because, why? Because it was reticketing, and that was the little gift that you were giving my state by sending monsters there. Costs the state of New York $5 to $10 million a day to feed and house illegals. Are you smiling at me about this?
No, I'm not.
You look like you got quite a smile on your
Yeah,
face.
she was smirking.
No.
Because I can tell you,
Gentlelady
people,
will not.
this is my time, reclaiming my time.
I'm thinking about
attack
children.
the witness.
Don't you dare
Don't attack the
smile
witness.
about the murder of
No, I'm
Laken
thinking
Riley.
about her parents.
The third
Don't
time,
question
the
how I
third
look.
time, Jose
My heart
Ibarra,
is breaking for her
my
parents.
time, Governor Hochul. The third time he was arrested was in the sanctuary city of Athens, another Democrat policy. And then he went on and attempted to rape Laken Riley and murdered her. He murdered her. Let me explain something to you. This little girl right here, she would be alive today if you weren't such a treasonous governor supporting sanctuary laws in the state of New York. This little girl would be alive today, and her mother very much would like for her to be alive. This is outrageous.
Oh, my gosh.
For anybody.
I got to pause this again. I'm looking at the video here. And Kathy Hochul has got her chin up. She's looking down her nose and has got this really sick look on her face. I mean, I'm not trying to judge anybody here, but I mean, my gosh, I would have my head bowed in shame. And she's holding her head up proud and smirking. This is psychotic. It is in my view, anyway.
Anybody in this country to support for non-citizens to be able to come in our country, be able to travel wherever they want, and then make taxpayers pay to house them, feed them, and then give them a plane ticket after they had been arrested in their state, that's what you did. You are responsible for the murder of this little girl, Laken Riley.
Wow.
And the Department of Justice should prosecute you for her murder.
Objection.
I don't care how much you object, and if you support it too, you're responsible for her murder. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
On a point of order.
Gentlelady's time has expired. State your point.
Our witnesses should be treated with respect, and I ask you to enforce decorum and remind committee members to treat our witnesses with respect.
Our members are treating the witnesses with respect. This is not a courtroom. We engage with the witnesses, and I think everybody's acted within their realm.
Okay. Wow. I mean, how do you respond to that? I mean, it's just it's beyond my imagination. I can't find any justification for that kind of behavior. I really can't. And by the way, I want to do a little math here. Well, I'll tell you what, before I do that, there's one more piece of this congressional testimony that I think you need to hear. Okay, Representative Mary Miller was questioning Governor Pritzer from New Jersey. And here's how this exchange went. I mean, this was fire. This was fire.
In 2024, after the presidential election, you stated on MSNBC that, and I quote, "I am going to do everything that I can to protect our undocumented immigrants," end quote. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit a Fox News report into the record titled, "Dem Governor J.B. Pritzker vows to do everything I can to protect our undocumented immigrants."
Congresswoman, I was talking about the people who have lived in our state for decades
These
now.
policies are not only deadly, but they have cost Illinois taxpayers billions to the tune of $3 billion since 2022. Governor, your state budget doesn't balance without massive yearly tax increases. This year, you hiked taxes by $800 million. Your budgets fund the services of illegal aliens, while Americans are left behind.
Inaccurate. Nearly everything is mischaracterized in your statement.
Governor, I judge you based on your actions, not on your words. And from what I can tell, you are doing everything in your power to roll out the red carpet for illegal aliens to protect them, all at the expense of working people of Illinois. Your policies have been disastrous for our state, and they would be disastrous for our country. And with that, I yield back.
Wow. I mean, and you know, Governor Pritzer, Governor Hochul, Governor Walz, I mean, they all, as far as I'm concerned, they all have blood on their hands. They really do. For standing up for these illegal aliens, and they just want to say undocumented aliens. Yeah, they changed the words around. But let's do some math. Okay? Now, we've heard all kinds of numbers thrown around as to how many illegals came in during the Biden administration. Okay? Now, the mainstream media says anywhere between 10 and 15 million. However, last fall, I was at a presentation with a Border Patrol officer who has 30 years experience working on the border. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he said the number is closer to 30 million. Okay? So the mainstream media is saying like 10 to 15. Sometimes you say 20 million. And this Border Patrol officer said 30 million. Let's go on the low side. Let's say it's only 10 million that came across the border. Now, if we were going to deport all of these illegal aliens, do you know how many we would have to deport every day? Do the math. If you were to try to get them all out of here in 1 year, all right, in 1 year, 10 million divided by 365, you end up with 27,300 plus per day. Per day. You'd have to deport 27,300 per day to get them all out of here. Think about that. And that's only, using 10 million as a starting point. If we go with the number that the Border Patrol agent said, and he said closer to 30, if you go with 30 million, you got to multiply that 27,000 by 3. We're talking like 80,000 per day would have to be deported. How are we ever going to get that done? It ain't going to happen. The Biden-Harris administration has basically opened the doors for absolute destruction for this country. And I don't know how we're going to fix it. I really don't. If you have a solution, please let me know. Something other than a knockdown, drag 'em out, bloody revolution. And unfortunately, the way the table's being set right now, and the way the deep state is doing this, thanks to people like Christy Walton from Walmart and others, and all the NGOs. And by the way, there are many, 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 many NGOs that are funding this operation. Yeah, and there's pallets of bricks and concrete blocks and BioShield face masks that are being handed out, by the hundreds. Who's funding all this? Is this an organic thing? Of course not. This is being organized. Ladies and gentlemen, we are under attack in this country. And I hate to say where this is going to go because I don't know. I don't know how we're going to solve this. But anyway, quick pause for the cause.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by going to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page, and it'll take you right down to a direct link to their website. GetMoreTank.com has all the technical information there, tell you about why and how it works. And I'll tell you, it does work. I've been using it for about a year now in my car. And the first thing I noticed is I had much better performance. The car starts right up. When I hit the gas, that thing goes. More power. It runs cleaner, and after several tanks of gas, I realized between 15 and 20% better mileage. Yeah, and you will too, whatever your vehicle is, and that works in diesel as well. So, hey, check it out, folks. The price is $22.22. That's $22.22, but you're going to get 10% off, so it comes out to a flat $20. $20 gets you 5 tablets. Now, in your first application, you put 2 tablets in on a full tank of gas. And by the end of that tank, you will notice better performance in your car. But as you use this one tablet per tank, you'll notice after a few tanks that your mileage is increasing. And what happens, again, if it's $20, you get 5 tablets. If you're getting 20% better mileage, that means that after 5 tanks of gas, the 5th tank was free. So you spend $20 and you get a free tank of gas. Do the math. This is a win-win situation. It's a no-brainer, folks. If you're not using Get More Tank, I don't know why you're not. So go to the website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. Okay, the fire. Oh, absolute fire was being spit. And we have good reason to be spitting fire. There is no justification for letting all these illegal immigrants in and then claiming that they have rights of due process. They do not have right of due process. Absolutely not. But unfortunately, most of Americans, they just don't understand. Earlier this week, I played a couple of clips. There was a local town council meeting, and the guy who kicked off the meeting couldn't even say the Pledge of Allegiance correctly. I mean, I learned that in grade school. And here we have people in local government, and if it's in the local town and county and state and federal level, and these people don't know the basic documents of our country, how can I expect them to know the Constitution? How can I expect them to know the rule of law? Well, the point is that because of our education system, You can't expect them to know anything about that. I mean, my gosh, 2/3 of Americans don't know the three branches of government. Let that sink in. How many times have you seen some of these videos, a guy on the street saying, hey, how many stars are on the United States flag? I don't know. Like, it's really funny that I'm so stupid. What countries border the United States? Yeah, right. This is exactly why Trump and many others think that the Department of Education needs to be abolished. And I'm inclined to agree with that. I was screaming about the Department of Education many, many, many years ago. I mean, you think about it, it came into existence in 1980? And the United States was number one in the world as far as quality of education is concerned. And every year since then, it drops and drops and drops. And now we're at the bottom of the barrel here. I think we're like 28th or something like that. I mean, that was by design, folks. That was no accident. That's not an accident. The Department of Education is there for one specific purpose. And George Carlin even reflected that. They don't want a well-educated population. They want ignorant, obedient workers. And I'll tell you, Steve Smith. Not Steve Smith. Who am I saying here? Oh, gosh, I'm having a brain fart. You'll tell me. I'll tell you what. Yeah, let me open the phone lines. 215-867-8255. Stephen Miller, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, spokesperson for the White House. Listen to what he had to say as far as the situation that we're in.
For the love of God, where are the damages for Americans? Where do I even begin? Where do I even start? We used to have a functioning public school system in this country. Then we had open borders. Now our schools are in chaos and disarray. We need hundreds of translators. Nobody's learning how to read or write. An entire generation of Americans, multiple generations, in fact, have been robbed of educational opportunities. Entire cities. Look at Los Angeles. Once a paradise of safety, security, and prosperity. Entire neighborhoods occupied and controlled by foreign gangs. Where do all the residents who've been displaced, who've been forced out of Los Angeles, where do they go to get their reparations? And then what about the victims of fentanyl poisoning brought in by Democrats' open border? Hundreds of thousands of moms and dads whose kids are dead and buried in the ground. Where do they go to get their reparations from the government? And then all the women who have been raped, who've been beaten, who've been murdered, all the dads who've been shot dead and aren't home, all the police officers who've been slain by illegal aliens in ambush attacks in the line of duty. Where do any of these people go? Where do any of their families go to get reparations? Or the 500,000 children that Joe Biden trafficked across the southern border and put into the hands of unvetted so-called sponsors? Do you know how many stories I could tell you of children that were trafficked across the border and raped because of the policies of Joe Biden? There aren't enough volumes that could fit into a library to calculate the carnage that has been inflicted by the Democrat Party's policy of open borders. We can spend the rest of our lives trying to document those harms. Where does our whole country go to get repaid for all of the wealth, all of the prosperity and security that has been stolen from us by decades of uncontrolled illegal mass migration? Because we all deserve reparations for what has been stolen from us. It is a tragedy that defies our ability to even describe it.
Isn't that incredible?
Preach, brother.
Well, yeah, preach it, brother. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's not going to get any better until we get some decent education coming down the pike here. But I got to tell you, all of these people who were out there protesting and demonstrating, a lot of them don't know what the heck they're doing. Now, of course, everybody's upset because, the Marines have been sent in. Okay, the duty of the Marines is to protect the federal buildings. That's what they're doing. They are not there to arrest anybody. That is not their jurisdiction. They're there to protect the federal buildings and government property. Now, as far as the National Guard is concerned, they are there to help protect the communities. Okay? So, all these people who are blocking the highways and throwing bricks and cinder blocks and scooters and whatever onto the highway, that's their job, is to stop that. They're not there to arrest people. It's up to the police. The county sheriff, the state police, the local police, they're the ones who have the duty and the responsibility and the authority to make arrests. That's the way it is. Okay? Now, there is a sheriff that was explaining what happened when they went to make a drug raid. Okay? They are there to enforce the law and make arrests. Okay? It was not an ICE raid. It was a drug raid. But unfortunately, the demonstrators don't know the difference. All they know is they see a uniform and they get out there and start impeding these officers from doing their job. Listen to this one.
Hey, everyone. Yesterday, my detectives were serving a search warrant on a cartel member where they took all of this drugs off the streets. We've got fentanyl pills. We've got cocaine. We got methamphetamines. We got gun seized from this cartel member. Here's the crazy part.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second. He just was showing. Now, we're talking bags and bags and bags of pills, of fentanyl, of bricks of cocaine, and a pile of guns. All right? And this is the sheriff. He is a law enforcement officer, and he was there to arrest a cartel member who was dealing drugs and whatever. He continues.
Some idiots thinking it was an ICE raid came down in protest.
Go home and tell your families what you do for a living. Hey, ho, ICE and cops have got to go.
You want to protest this not getting off the streets? That's insane. Stay out of Pinal County if you're going to commit crime. And I really want to thank my anti-smuggling unit for this long investigation. This was over a half-a-year investigation where they got 32 pounds of cocaine off the street and 22 pounds of methamphetamines off the street, to include the fentanyl pills. Thanks, guys. You're doing a great job keeping the county safe. Hey, everyone. Yesterday...
Yeah, there you go. Isn't that amazing? And these idiots are out there trying to block their operations. Now, I don't know. I would think that there could be charges brought against them. I don't know. But this is the level of stupidity of some of these protesters. They don't even know why they're there. I saw there was a guy that was interviewing some people in Los Angeles, and they're saying, hey, what brought you here? So, man, I don't know. I just want to come down and chill. Yeah, I want to chill. How do you chill? Oh, let's go to a riot. This is insanity. And we're wondering why things are so screwed up in this country. It's because we are so uninformed, ill-informed, misinformed, and propagandized. And for those of you who are continually feeding from the intellectual fecal matter being shoved down your gullet by the mainstream networks and the legacy media, no wonder we're in such trouble here. Anyway, I don't know how we're going to fix this, folks. Like I just was telling you, when you do the math, and you put, plug in how many illegal immigrants there are, and if you were going to try to deport them all, oh my gosh, we got to have over 27,300 deportations every day just to get 10 million out in 1 year. Anyway, here's some more information. Who's funding these gatherings, these demonstrations, these protests? But let's call them what they are. They're riots. And when you're impeding the operations of law enforcement and destroying property, that is an insurrection. You take a look at what happened on January 6th. Oh, yes, Nancy Pelosi. I played that clip yesterday, and she lied through her teeth. She lied because she and the mayor of D.C. prevented Trump from allowing the 10,000 National Guard troops to go into the Capitol on January 6th. It's on tape. And she actually said it. And yet a couple days ago, she stood in front of the cameras and said, we tried to get that in there, but Trump wouldn't let us. Just one lie after another. Yeah, I try to have a little bit of humor in this show, but I'm telling you, it's kind of hard to make fun and smile and laugh when all this insanity is going on in this clown world. Okay, listen to this one here.
In 2021, the Special Operations Command under Mark Milley, as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, put out an instruction manual, a vision for 2021 and beyond, that contained instructions and examples on how the military could work with the State Department, Intel Services, and USAID using race riots. Here's examples of some of the instruction manuals here, 1 and 2, in order to destabilize nations.
Here's a declassified CIA guide written in 1983 to train CIA operatives in the field on how to organize riots in foreign countries. And here's a tab on using agitators, including hiring professional criminals to manipulate mass meetings and assemblies of people in person, which can result in general violence. And you will see that they advocate for general violence, where the CIA tells the case officers, our psychological war team must develop in advance a hostile mental attitude among the target groups so that at the given moment they can turn their anger into violence, demanding the rights taken away by the regime. So make these ethnic minority groups so mad at their government in a general sense that whenever we snap the trigger at the given moment, they will turn that general anger into physical violence against the state that we want to overthrow. But this is a CIA guide on getting teachers, doctors, attorneys, and businessmen in a cluster cell recruited as social crusaders for the CIA-backed cause. And then note what it says. Through a gradual process, these cells, your 10 super teachers with a lot of influence in the teaching realm, your 10 lawyers with a lot of influence in the legal realm, your 10 captains of industry with a lot of influence in business, your 10 medical professionals with a lot of pull over the hospital systems will each work within their own spheres of influence. And at the appropriate time, their influence will be used to fuse the groups together into a united front.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because this is basically spelling out the CIA's involvement in these, well, shall I call it the insurrection? So I don't know what the solution is, how we're going to get out of this mess. Again, I mean, crunching the numbers, and I know I've mentioned it twice already in this broadcast, but I mean, it's staggering to think of how many illegal immigrants have to be deported to be able to bring us back to where we were before the Biden-Harris administration. Again, if we're dealing with only 10 million illegal immigrants, to get them out in 1 year, you'd have to get 27,300 a day. It's just madness. It really is. Okay, let me see. I've got a couple other unrelated clips here. I'm not sure which way we need to go. Oh, I know. You got to hear this one. Now, there's a movie, or rather a TV show. I can't remember the name of this TV show. It's on the tip of my tongue. But there was this one scene where they're spelling out exactly the world events and how it's going to play out. Listen to this. Again, this is from a TV show. Sometimes, Hollywood and TVs will tell you the truth. I think that there's some good guys in there, too. So give a listen to this. This is amazing.
I'm here to tell you a story. I'm sure you recognize many of the faces behind me. They are among the most powerful men and women on the planet. They are also part of a global conspiracy, a shadow organization that spans across every continent and has for the last 3 decades, consisting of leaders in world government and the private sector. Some call this group the Cabal. The world you live in is the world they want you to think you live in. They start wars, create chaos, and when it suits them, they resolve it. Cabal members will move more money in the next quarter than the World Bank will in the next year. Their alliance affects sea change in every aspect of human life. The value and distribution of commodities, money, weapons, water, fuel, the food we eat to live, the information we rely on to tell us who we are.
What exactly do you expect us to do with this information?
Study it, investigate it to determine the truth, and then report it. Let me be clear. Investigating this group will immediately position you as a threat. If you do what I'm asking, you will be putting your lives and the lives of those you love at grave risk. In the end, the truth will out. Not all of us will live to see that day, but the truth will out.
Yes, it will. Absolutely it will. But the problem is we got to get from point A to point C. And whatever point B is, we may be moving into point B right now. Now, as we go into this weekend, I ask all the listeners out there to pray. We need to identify in our own minds, in our own hearts, the difference between light and darkness. We have to somehow see through the subterfuge and the lies and the propaganda and all the garbage that's out there, because the powers that be want us fearful. Now, the Bible tells us 365 times, do not fear. That's once for every single day. And was it say, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I shall fear no evil? Fear no evil. The opposite of love is fear. It's not hate, because fear begats hate. And so we've got to be able to know where we stand. And I was talking yesterday about, what kind of car you drive. And it doesn't make any difference what kind of meat suit that you're wearing, whether you're tall or short or fat or skinny, or whether you're white or black or brown, whether, what ethnic background you've got. We all bleed the same blood, and we all want the same thing. And I don't care what your nationality is, what your religion is, what your race is, where you come from. Doesn't make any difference. We all want food, shelter, clothing, and love. And as far as I'm concerned, love should be right at the top of the list, because that's all you get. That's all you get to take with you. You get what you give. Anyway, I don't mean to get all esoteric and philosophical, but I mean, it's not hard. We all know the difference between right and wrong, and at least, many of us listening to this broadcast, we're taught the golden rule, and that's sort of spelled out in the 10 Commandments. And by the way, that's the same commandments that the Jews have. But somehow we've all been, pitted against each other. And believe me, the powers that be, they don't want things to be good, because they would lose their power. We all look to our leaders to help us solve a problem. And so what they do is they create problems. So the people keep looking at the leaders. This is how they maintain their power. Well, somehow we've got to be able to wrestle that out of their steely grip. Oh man, we've only got a couple of minutes left here. A quick reminder, this whole thing that's gearing up for World War III, with Ukraine and Russia, and I hate to say it, I mean, this whole thing that's been going on in Gaza. I mean, we're at the final stage now. I don't know how much longer these people can last without food, without water, without shelter, with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, I know that there are caravans of people from all over the world that are descending upon the border of Gaza to try to bring some relief to whoever is left. But I think it's too little and too late. And of course, Bibi Netanyahu keeps on using that thing. It's those Hamas terrorists. The Hamas did it. Hamas. Let me turn the clock back to 2009 and remind you what Representative Ron Paul said on the congressional floor. Listen to this.
Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel, because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you say, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first, indirectly and directly through Israel, help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is. All right, folks. I hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast. If you think that this is worthy, please, if you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube, please click like, click share, and click subscribe. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can go to our website, TheWTFReports, and we have a GoFundMe page there, so we could turn this into an honest-to-God podcast with video. That way I can show you these video clips and documents. Anyway, that said, we're at the end of time. We're out of time at the end of time. Hey, look at, maybe that was a Freudian slip. Anyway, this is the weekend is upon us, and hey, be careful this weekend, folks. All right. All right, until Monday, you guys take care. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you on Monday. God bless you all.